right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Kayvon Deldar. I'm the Director of Fintech and Insurtech at Plug and Play. We're a global early stage investor in startups, as well as a corporate innovation platform where we look to bridge industry-leading corporations with startups all across the globe. I'll be moderating this session here where we discuss digitalization and insurance with our guest speakers. We have Cleo, who is the founder and CEO at PasarPolis, an Indonesia-based Insurtech startup, and Max, who is leading the digital transformation office at NTUC Income, which is Singapore's leading provider of life, health, travel, and car insurance. What I really personally like about this panel is that we're going to hear the perspective of both an up-and-coming innovative startup based in the region, as well as an incumbent corporate that's also invested a lot into transformation and innovation over the past few years. I know there's a lot of ground to cover and a lot of interesting questions, so let's get started. So my first question to you both will be centered around customer-driven innovation. I think it's fairly clear from both a startup and a corporate perspective that customer centricity is key to growth and retention, and I would love to hear about both of your perspectives on this facet of the business. So Cleo, starting with you guys at PasarPolis, you certainly made a lot of headway a couple of years ago when you announced your fundraising round from 3 of the biggest startups and unicorns in the region. And you most recently just raised another round of, I believe, over $50 million from a lot of similar investors. And clearly building a distribution network in the region in partnership with insurance companies is how you guys have scaled to date. So my question regarding customer-driven innovation is, would you view your core customers as your distribution partners or your end customers as individual people? And then how do you work with those customers to help create innovative microinsurance products?
Yeah. No, I think thank you, Kayvon, for the time. Great to be here, everybody. So I think that it's very clear that the customer is the end user, and we want to make sure that we drive customer centricity in every product that we do. So from building the insurance product intelligence, the right product, relevant product, in the right journey, right? And we work with our partners, distribution partner, to have a customer experience launchpad, for example, to really look at how people would buy insurance, how people would claim the product, what is the relevancy, what is the right price, in order for that product to be really valuable for the consumers. So we look into that very deeply, working with our partner to understand, for example, building a team with a partner on team around building the consumer data and also consumer experience launchpad to make sure we understand the consumer insights. And that way we can create the right relevant product. So I think that's basically what we work with. So we create dedicated team to work with our tech partners and help them leverage the data that they have in order for us to build better product for the consumers.
Got it. And on that line of thinking, I guess in your experience so far, what have your end consumers been looking for, and what kind of products in the insurance space have you been creating to help service that need?
Yeah, so I think that there are different use cases, different products that we work with. So if you looked at, for example, shipping insurance, which we do a lot, then the fastness of claim, has to be quite good. When we looked at, for example, shipping return, how the return experience is actually translated for the consumers. When we looked at travel, for example, how we can make claims very close to instant. So I think there are different product has different point of view in terms of what is most relevant for the consumers. Some we looked at, for example, what is the price for the consumer? And I think Max here talks about snack, and I think that is also essential to digital ecosystem, whereby you have to build products that are affordable, that are relevant. So we looked at what is the right product, building insurance product intelligence, and we have the team to do that in terms of how we create that as a key important for our distribution partner, because if we don't have a dedicated team to understand the consumer insight from the ecosystem partner to build relevant product, then the consumers will not buy the product, and hence the insurance sales will remain to be low. So working with us, what happened is that you have the full suite of capabilities, including, of course, data centricity, to build that customer centricity driven by data. So you have a platform for our partners, for example, to then look at, what is the performance of each product? What is the NPS score of the insurance product? How many open tickets as a result of that insurance product being sold? So there are many different aspects that we looked at to make sure we deliver products that are relevant for the consumers.
Oh, perfect. I think a bit later, I'm going to talk a bit more about your claims and customer service that you just touched upon. But now I just want to switch gears to Max and what you guys are doing on the income side. You guys have made a lot of headway with product innovations like Droplet a few years back, as well as most recently with Snack, which Cleo just talked about. I would be super interested in learning about how you guys ideate on which products and test from learning more from your customers and what that process looks like internally.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for that. Thanks for having us here anyway. So basically, when it comes to the way we look at innovation, I mean, I really love the way Cleo brought it out. It's always customer centricity, right? It's not digital centricity or technology centricity. It's all about the customer. And technology and the rest of the ways that we can utilize them is only to bring products down to a level and prices down to a level to be more accessible to everyone in the region. For us in Singapore, being NTUC income, the way we have positioned ourselves is to create products at prices that's accessible to everyone. It doesn't matter which sector you're in or which financial background you have. And technology allows us to do that. Data helps us to then, when we work with partners like Grab, when we did a product with them for their drivers, and when we did a product with Caro as a Southeast Asia motoring platform to then create stuff for their customers. We use their data a lot to make sure that when we create products, they are highly attractive. Again, the way that we say, if we were to create any product is, does this come off as an alternative touch point so that customers have more than one choice when they want to purchase a singular item? I mean, when you buy motoring insurance, you could buy from us directly online already, or you could go through with a partner like Caro, or you could buy entirely new experience towards insurance like usage-based insurance, which we did with Caro late last year, where people only start to pay motor coverage at the very first kilometer. So the way we look at partners, the way we look at customers and rethink ideas, I guess really comes down to, does this increase the accessibility to customers in Singapore, right? Because some people may not have the right cash flow. Some people may be more concerned about A than B. Traditional products are designed to be sold directly to customers, and the customers will have to accept this construct and the structure of it. Being digital allows us to change some of these things that we assume are necessary in the past, and we are able to challenge the first principles of all these products. And we managed to do quite a bit. I mean, Droplet was one of those products that no one believed we could actually launch a coverage against the rain. It's not a product that is designed to get us a lot of revenue, but it's designed to get us more customer and more customer understanding that if we're able to create something like that, imagine what we could do with all life insurance coverage, motor insurance coverage in the future.
No, thanks for talking about both the new products you guys have been working on, as well as kind of the traditional businesses like motor. Would you say that you spend the majority of your time on the transformation side looking to increase and better the existing servicing for some of your current products that are kind of bringing in the revenue like you were mentioning, or is it more on increasing your distribution, increasing the flexibility of what it even means to buy an insurance policy with income?
I would say it's really both ends. I think definitely when we first start off, being a leading composite insurer in Singapore, and we're kind of number one in motor insurance, for example, that kind of positioning put us in a very delicate spot when we create a product, how does that work hand in hand with what we have today, the traditional products that we have today, which people can actually buy online too, because you can buy health insurance, medical insurance, and most of the general insurance that we have directly online. So being able to create them as supplementary, that then hopefully in the long run does sustain its own revenue numbers, is kind of the delicate balance. I would think that within the community, within Singapore, there are customers that actually are looking for new ways to engage with insurance. And sometimes if you were to ask them, they wouldn't know what it is, right? And it's on our part to then constantly experiment, changing certain of these levers to then say, let's create a motor insurance that fundamentally charged for the first kilometer. That kind of concept was brand new. In the past, we would probably charge the whole policy and then get a refund if they didn't drive enough and use the kilometers that we estimated they would use. So that kind of change in mindset is necessary from our side, but it's a constant iteration with the customers. We work with the ecosystem platform partners to then better understand what works for them. So I think it's kind of a tug of war, but it's a very delicate and it's a good challenge to have, because once we nail that, the way we look at ourselves being a composite insurer is to have a composite access to all sorts of channels, and channels include perspective of pricing, perspective of product, and perspective of platform, right? So we want to make sure that we have covered all the aspects that's available across all these three areas. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Max. And I think discussing customer centricity, I would be remiss to talk about the recent developments with COVID and everything becoming more remote. We're definitely seeing the insurance industry, both from the startup and the incumbent insurer side, learning how to grapple with this change and this massive opportunity for digital transformation, and maybe changing and increasing customer expectations from their insurance providers at this time. So the situation is certainly still evolving, but I think it's quite evident that the industry will need to adapt and change moving forward, both in the current situation and how it changes what the future engagement will look like. So Cleo, back to you. I wanted to first of all discuss about maybe pre-COVID, what might have been some of the cultural or business challenges in the insurance industry in Indonesia, and then how PasarPolis has leveraged this opportunity for newfound digital transformation in this new normal in Indonesia, at least.
Yeah. No, I think it's very interesting. The COVID-19, in my mind, is the single biggest driver of digitalization for emerging countries like Indonesia. It is the country's best chief digital officer so far. And I think it's really remarkable to see how COVID-19, for example, has enabled to drive the usage of smartphone, for example, and fast speed internet. And in a country where we see that, localization is important and the accessibility of insurance has been one of the main channel, or main challenge, I should say, of insurance, we are yet to see such a big improvement in terms of accessibility of insurance through smartphone, for example. So we see that the use cases of people buying insurance has been significantly increased due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It creates different new use cases, and I think so far for PasarPolis, the number of transactions has gone up after COVID. So I think the key is that how we actually utilize this pandemic in terms of enabling, sort of digitalization in rural area, especially even the eastern part of countries like Indonesia, right? And probably usually mostly in the western and the central part of Indonesia. But in the eastern part, for example, how through work from home, school from home, that has enabled people to then use internet, and how we can utilize that for financial inclusion, including insurance inclusion, giving then people that previously has no access to insurance, just like the same people in Jakarta. And when you are far away, it's more difficult in the past. You don't have branches, people offering you insurance. The bank assurance has not been extremely well crafted. but you then drive that through a smartphone and selling microinsurance to people who needs that the most. And I think that is an extremely good opportunity.
Awesome. I think something that I'm just genuinely curious about is I definitely see it as a great way to leverage microfinance and microinsurance to some of those underserved populations in Indonesia, like you mentioned. Out of curiosity, just how are you distributing them into? I think education is a huge aspect of this. And so, first of all, like how are you reaching these potential new customers, and then how are you educating them on the value of insurance for their lifestyles?
Yeah, in general, I think anything that are COVID-related product like hospital, cash plan, life insurance has shown, I would say, considerable more traction compared to pre-pandemic. So that area maybe no need to be educated. And then in terms of like shipping, delivery type of insurance through GoSend, GoBox, and all this insurance product has increased up to 12 times. So you see, just because of the demand of that kind of contextual product. Anything product sold alongside marketplace transaction, e-commerce platform has also increased by about 70%. So you actually see all this increasing because the use cases has increased. But that could be one way to educate, right? To sell insurance in a more digital ecosystem partner, make it very seamless, and of course through the use of digital in basically the platform usage has increased, the insurance will also increase also the same.
Got it. So yeah, Max, I want to ask you a very similar question, but maybe with a slight tweak, because for an incumbent insurer like Income, there was a lot of transactions, engagement, and servicing happening mostly face-to-face in a little bit of a traditional manner. You guys have definitely distributed a lot of products digitally, but curious to know a bit about how you guys have adapted during this time in this remote environment that we have now.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up a very good point, right? I mean, we have so many channels. Digital is something that's emerging, but we work with a lot of brokers. Our agency force is continually growing. So the COVID situation definitely brought to us a very unique opportunity and challenge, right? Because we look at the challenge and opportunity as different sides of the same coin. Insurance has always been high touch traditionally, and even today, people are still hope to speak to somebody, a human, to understand stuff. Although customers are getting increasingly open to self-serve options online or buying from a digital platform like PasarPolis, right? So I think that convergence is going to still take time. Client engagement for us was a challenge when it comes to what's the best way to interact with our customers. So very quickly we turned around with tools to actually help our agents better themselves and enable themselves to close deals without meeting their customers through digital tools that we created for them. In the past, I think these were all available. Even the digital platforms to purchase insurance was available, but a lot of times they were seen as alternatives. I think I really love the one that Cleo brought up was the being a chief transformation officer, right? This chief digital officer, there's nothing like this era has happened. So I think COVID really helped pushed everyone to adopt the alternatives into a potential new main form, right? So I think that is what happened for us. When it comes to more than just selling or meeting out your customers, we also want to make sure that the products that we're creating for our agents to engage with customers are also much simpler today. In the past, there might be a lot more communications is required, explanation is required. So we did a lot of creating of new products. Some of these products help our other traditional channels get customers in the form of leads. Snack by Income was really created as a potential for that, right? Cash flow was a big problem, not just for consumers, but also for corporates, especially if you were let's say you were a fleet company and you would have to buy fleet insurance for your whole cars, but no one was renting them. Cash flow becomes a problem. So when we rethink products during this period of time was that how could we solve the fundamental issue, which is cash flow for some of these customers? Some of these products, we were timely to have created them beforehand, and they're useful today, and they're growing today. So I think to stay in this in transformation, it should not be too reactive. It needs to be fast to react to create tools when the time recalls for it. But it also requires us to think about the future where with some of these assumptions that we have, some of this defensive mode that an incumbent like us assume that we have will continue to stay. And if we do throw that all away, what will we be doing? So I think we've got ahead of some of our competitors in that, but there's still so much more to be done, honestly. Yeah.
No, I love that point that you brought up, because I think the key challenge and area that insurance companies need to grapple with is like these changing customer expectations and the nature of risk, right? I think insurance companies were created to manage risk for people that they wouldn't have the means to defend against or to cover on their own. And I think those things definitely evolve. So that cash flow thing is a great example of that. And it's good to hear about the initiatives you guys are doing at Income in that space. So I wanted to touch on one like kind of major point that I always like to talk about, which is partnerships. So clearly, partnerships are how a lot of companies have scaled here in the region across all the different markets, not only in Singapore, like we're seeing with the likes of the partnerships like Income with Grab or Chubb with Grab and a few others. And there are too many kind of bank insurance and digital partnerships to tap into. But I think, Cleo, to bring it back to you, how do you think about your current distribution partners, some of which are like Traveloka, Tokopedia, and Gojek, for example, and especially as you look to expand beyond Indonesia, what are the key models and partners that you look for?
Yeah, no, I think partnership brings accelerated problem solvings. Because collaboration allows us and also our partner to tap into each other's expertise, right, and problem solve faster. And I think PasarPolis partnership with over 30 largest insurance and also digital partner in Indonesia and maybe going to Southeast Asia after, give us the ability to tailor-make the product, right? And at the end of the day, it's about solving basically the user's pain points. In case, for example, for Gojek, they reach out to PasarPolis in terms of how we can solve issue together to, for example, provide insurance for their drivers, right? We were the first to launch, for example, insurance for drivers at just $1 a month. And creating that, building that on our local knowledge, right? And what does it cover, for example? Collaborations allows us to build and solve specific problems, right? Because we would work together with our partners to identify what are the main pain points, the top fears for the customer, and leverage that and build the right product, the right distribution, and measure that as well in terms of building that at scale, but also measuring it with our performance marketing team to enable our partners sell the insurance the best, for example, to then do weekly partners meeting and then iterate on that. So there are a lot of different things, but I think the main important thing is that it allows for accelerated problem solvings, and we are doing that with the largest digital ecosystem in Indonesia. We look forward to working with more, and as well as we look forward to growing this across Southeast Asia as well.
Okay, thank you for that. And I think really quickly, I want to ask, is there any kind of either regional or global, so quite broad, is there any kind of tech company or startup that PasarPolis looks up to as an example of something you would like to imitate?
Yeah, I think there are quite a few, right? I mean, and I think in the US, for example, there are sector specific that are super cool, right? Like if you take a look at for example, talk about UBI. Root is doing extremely well in the US, and something that we looked at, how can it work? And then we looked at how we can, for example, do UBI not just for car, for example, with our partnership with Xiaomi being a strategic shareholder into PasarPolis, for example, how we can actually enable UBI for health, for other segment outside of just auto, for example. So I think doing that would be good. Lemonade is doing different cool things in the US where it is targeting property. So I think there are a lot of players that we emulate, including, I think, Max and NTUC. I think there are a lot of great innovation that comes out of, NTUC And I think would love to really understand how we could collaborate more, right? Because I think we act as more of sort of a platform and enabling, underwriting, large underwriter, because we, of course, don't have the balance sheet that NTUC have, for example. So I think we are looking for the best partners, solving big problems in Southeast Asia.
Oh, great to hear. And Max, to turn it over towards you and the partnerships. I mean, I think I talked a little bit earlier about the partnerships you had, like with Grab and Revolut, for example. So would love to hear more about like how you evaluate which partners to work with to service your customer base. And then also the second question there is, in order to innovate, a lot of incumbent insurance companies have worked with startups, whether it's like a PasarPolis or some companies that's in data analytics, for example, claim servicing, etc. How do you evaluate how to partner with those startup companies or build on your own?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to partnering with digital ecosystems, I mean that's always a big conversation because usually when both sides, like, I mean, you would understand, being an incumbent insurer, we bring a lot to the table, but sometimes we get too engrossed with the digital partner or digital platform partner about what is a long-term plan, what is the whole grand vision we can do together. And I think that is still necessary, but picking the right partners that focuses on the vision, that the first step to getting anything out the door is to just do something. I think that is the number one criteria for us when we look and choose to partner with partners. I mean, when we work with Grab and with Caro, they exude that kind of mindset. That's why we really love working with them, being able to turn around products as soon as 2 to 4 months from the time we think about it to the time we launch it. And we are hopeful to kind of reduce that further in terms of monthly launching products. I think to be able to get to that level of agility for an incumbent insurer, we need the help to partner with the right digital platforms and not get caught up in too long conversations. And more importantly, again, talking about vision, is the vision that on our side, at least within the transformation unit, the way we look at it is that we must be the ones spearheading, not insurance 2.0. We must be seen as the one pushing insurance 3.0 or 4.0. It might be something that requires a lot of patience. It might be something that requires a lot of time and imagination. So, for example, when we work with with Caro to create we believe the first usage-based insurance in the region, truly usage-based insurance in the region, starts from the fact that we believe that usage-based will become unique-based. So over time, we should not just be using kilometers to price and charge for motor insurance. Could we use timing? Could we use the road that you use? Could we use all the other elements that a number of people in the car? So I think those kind of mindset needs to be well aligned with partners, and we're thankful for the partners that we work with so far to have that kind of mindset. You brought up Revolut. I think that was something we work with Snack a lot. So Snack by Income creates a platform within Income that allows us to work with other platforms in a very efficient and agile manner. So Snack has partnered with EasyLink in Singapore. We partner with Visa, Purple, and now Revolut, right? All this gives us the ability to then, again, I like the way that Cleo mentioned, so accelerated problem solving. It allows us to actually use what makes sense within these partners to tweak what's available in Snack for their ecosystems, right? I think that kind of a mindset, again, it's always alignment of mindset when it comes to picking partners. For the kind of startup engagement models that we work with, we tend to start off from problem statements a lot. And as you would know, that if we were to start as a problem statement, sometimes we end with multiple offerings, multiple startups to choose from, because everyone's great. Everyone has a great proposition to put on the table. I think the way we then assess who to work with, again, is about speed. Again, it's about aligning whether we have the same ambition, that let's do something fast, let's do something at MVP, and able to turn around quickly. I think that is something we carry through everything that we do, internally with or without partners, and externally with startups and digital ecosystems. So that has always been the number one priority. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for both your answers to that partnerships question, and looking forward to seeing what both of you guys do in the coming years in this space. I know we didn't get the chance to talk about really fun topics that everyone likes to talk about, like regulation, but I think that's all the time that we have for this panel. I want to thank both of you for your time, for participating in this panel, and to our audience for joining us today. I hope you guys have gained some valuable insights. So thank you both to Cleo and Max, and everyone have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thanks for having.
All right. Thank
Cheers.
you.